Morning sunlight. Picture this. You wake up. Your hand reaches for coffee like it's life support. But the strongest stimulant on earth isn't in your mug. It's already pouring down from the sky. 93 million miles away, the sun is firing the exact signal your brain is desperate for. And it costs nothing. We're casually told to get some sunlight, as if it's optional. It isn't. For your biology, it's an order. Deep inside your head is a timing system that controls almost everything. Hormones, focus, metabolism, sleep. Your circadian rhythm. And here's the problem. It has no sense of time. No clock. No calendar. It runs on one signal only. Light. Not artificial light. Not the glow of your phone. Real, outdoor light entering your eyes. When you wake up and stay indoors, your brain stays confused. Melatonin, the chemical that keeps you asleep, is still leaking into your system. Your body hasn't received the message that night is over. So the fix isn't complicated. It's primal. Within the first hour after waking, you go outside. Not behind glass. Windows block the wavelengths that matter. You physically step into the open sky. 5 to 10 minutes on a bright morning. 15 to 20 if it's cloudy. You don't stare at the sun like a lunatic. You look toward the horizon. Let the light wash over your eyes. That light hits specialized cells in your retinas, cells designed only for timing, not vision. They fire a direct signal deep into your brain, straight to your master clock. And that signal flips two powerful switches. First, it shuts down melatonin production. Sleep mode, terminated. Second, it releases cortisol on schedule. Cortisol gets a bad reputation. But in the morning, it's the stand-up and function hormone. It sharpens focus, raises energy, activates metabolism. Miss this signal, and everything drifts. Your cortisol spike comes late and weak. You feel foggy for hours. Worse, your brain loses track of when night is supposed to begin. It needs that morning light to start the countdown for melatonin later. Skip the sun in the morning, and you don't just feel tired today. You sabotage your sleep tonight. This isn't a wellness trend. It's the operating system your body runs on. And once you understand how light controls your biology, you start wondering what other hidden switches you've been ignoring. Ice water face plunge. Scroll online and you'd think the goal is to turn yourself into a frozen statue. Ice baths, steel tubs, gritted teeth, bragging rights. But here's what rarely gets mentioned. If your goal is to calm your nervous system fast, you don't need a $1,000 setup or a heroic amount of suffering. You need a bowl, some ice, and your face. When your face hits icy water, you trigger one of the oldest survival programs in the human body, the mammalian dive reflex. This isn't mindset. It's not willpower. It's a built-in biological override. This reflex evolved long before modern humans, back when survival meant conserving oxygen underwater. And your body still remembers. Cold water shocks the receptors around your nose, cheeks, and eyes. Those signals shoot up the trigeminal nerve, straight into the brainstem. Your brain doesn't debate it. It assumes one thing. You're diving. And instantly, your entire system downshifts. Your heart rate slows. Blood vessels in your arms and legs tighten, pushing oxygen toward your brain and heart. Energy gets redirected where it matters most. But the real magic happens deeper. The cold surge powerfully stimulates the vagus nerve, the main control line of your parasympathetic nervous system. The calm down system, the opposite of fight or flight. Stress hormones get cut off at the source. Your body is forced into a state of control and conservation. The method couldn't be simpler. Fill a bowl with the coldest water you can handle. Add ice. Take a breath. Submerge your face for 15 to 30 seconds. That's it. In half a minute, you've manually flipped the switch on your autonomic nervous system. A racing mind slams into the present moment. Anxiety has nowhere to go. It's a hard reboot. Full-body cold exposure has its place, but it can overstress the system if abused. This is different. This is precise, targeted, immediate, a tranquilizer without chemicals, an emergency brake for stress, engineered by evolution and hidden in plain sight. And if a simple bowl of ice can hijack your nervous system this easily, what happens when you start controlling the signals coming from inside your body? Sleep cycles. You've probably heard it your entire life. 8 hours. Non-negotiable. The gold standard of sleep. And yet, you've lived the contradiction. 8 full hours, and you wake up feeling wrecked. That's because the number isn't the problem. The timing is. Your brain doesn't sleep in one long, smooth stretch. It moves in loops. Predictable ones. Roughly every 90 minutes, your brain completes a full sleep cycle. Inside each cycle, you pass through layers. Lighter sleep, deep sleep where the body repairs itself, and dream sleep where memories get filed and emotions are processed. The danger isn't sleeping too little. It's waking up at the wrong moment. If you wake during light sleep, the transition feels natural. You open your eyes. Your mind feels clear. But wake up in deep sleep, and it's a disaster. Your brain is saturated with slow delta waves. Pulling yourself out of that state is like unplugging a computer mid-update. The result is sleep inertia. That heavy fog, the confusion, the feeling that your brain didn't boot properly, and it can linger for hours. Here's the good news. You don't need a sleep tracker or a smart ring to fix this. You need arithmetic. The goal isn't more sleep. It's waking up at the end of a cycle. Start with your wake-up time and count backward in 90-minute blocks. If your alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m., ideal bedtimes land around 11 p.m. for 5 cycles, or 9:30 p.m. for 6 cycles. That calculation already accounts for the average 15 minutes it takes to fall asleep. So going to bed at 11 p.m. and waking at 6:30 gives you 7.5 hours, perfectly aligned with your brain's rhythm. And suddenly, 7.5 hours feels better than 8 ever did. This also explains naps. A 20-minute nap stays in light sleep and feels refreshing. A 45-minute nap drags you into deep sleep, then yanks you out. That's why it feels awful. Sleep isn't about quantity. It's about completing the cycles cleanly. Stop counting hours. Start counting cycles. Because once you control when you wake up, you start to realize how much power lies in when you do everything else. Mouth tape. Let's address the absurdity first. Taping your mouth shut sounds less like health advice and more like a medieval punishment. And yet, this unassuming strip of tape might quietly fix things you've struggled with for years. Snoring, restless sleep, dry mouth, even dental issues. The idea is uncomfortable because it challenges a habit you've had your entire life. Humans are designed to breathe through the nose. Not sometimes. Not ideally. By default. Your nose isn't just decorative. It's a full air processing system. When air passes through your nasal passages, it's warmed, humidified, and filtered. Dust, bacteria, and irritants get trapped before they reach your lungs. But there's a deeper advantage most people never hear about. Your nasal cavities produce nitric oxide, a powerful molecule that widens blood vessels, improves oxygen delivery, and even has antiviral effects. Mouth breathing skips all of this. Cold, dry, unfiltered air rushes straight into your lungs. Over time, this promotes inflammation, dehydration, and increased vulnerability to illness. At night, the problem compounds. Mouth breathing destabilizes the jaw and tongue. Soft tissue at the back of the throat starts to vibrate or collapse entirely. That vibration is snoring. That collapse is a major driver of obstructive sleep apnea. Mouth tape is blunt, but it works. By lightly sealing your lips, you force your body to return to its natural default, nasal breathing. No apps, no machines, just compliance. For many people, the results show up fast. Snoring drops dramatically or disappears. You wake without a desert dry mouth. Sleep feels deeper, heavier, more complete. But this isn't universal, and the warnings matter. If your nose is genuinely blocked, a deviated septum, severe allergies, chronic congestion, this isn't for you. The goal is guidance, not suffocation. Start small. Use a narrow strip of breathable medical tape placed vertically over the center of your lips. You should be able to open your mouth easily if needed. You're not sealing a vault. You're reminding your jaw where it belongs. The first few nights feel strange. Then something clicks. You realize you're not just stopping drool on the pillow. You're restoring a basic biological function modern life quietly trained out of you. And once breathing is fixed, you start to wonder what other normal habits are actually holding your body back. Magnesium. There's a good chance you're low on magnesium, even if your blood work says everything looks normal. That's because standard tests don't tell the whole story. You can appear fine on paper and still be functionally depleted where it matters, inside your cells. Magnesium is the quiet workhorse of human biology. It helps run more than 300 enzymatic reactions: muscle contraction, blood sugar control, nerve signaling, mood regulation, and modern life absolutely drains it. Stress is the biggest thief. Every time your body pumps out cortisol, it burns magnesium to keep that response in check. Add caffeine, alcohol, sugar, hard training. The tank empties faster than it refills. So you end up with symptoms that feel unrelated but share the same root: anxiety, muscle tightness, tension headaches, restless sleep, brain fog. Here's where this turns from a generic supplement tip into a real cheat code. Magnesium isn't just magnesium. The form you take determines where it goes and what it actually does. If you've ever grabbed a cheap bottle and spent the night sprinting to the bathroom, you probably took magnesium oxide. It barely absorbs. Its main talent is acting like a laxative. Magnesium citrate absorbs a little better, but for many people, it still irritates digestion. The real shift happens with chelated forms, magnesium bound to amino acids. Magnesium glycinate, sometimes called bisglycinate, is the gold standard for calming the nervous system. Here's why. The magnesium is attached to glycine, an amino acid that naturally quiets the brain. Glycine boosts GABA, the neurotransmitter responsible for slowing neural activity. So you get a double effect: less anxiety, a calmer mind, deeper sleep, all without the digestive chaos. There's another form worth knowing: magnesium threonate. This one is special because it can cross the blood-brain barrier. That makes it uniquely effective for cognitive clarity, memory, and lifting mental fog. So choosing the right magnesium isn't just about replacing a mineral. It's about delivering the right signal to the right system. You're not sedating your body. You're giving it the missing piece it needs to finally downshift and repair. And once your nervous system starts recovering properly, you begin to realize how many of your problems were just deficiencies in disguise. Breathwork. Forget the meditation app. The most powerful lever you have for changing your mental and physical state is already built in: your breath. And almost everyone is using it incorrectly. Breathwork isn't a trend or a spiritual gimmick. It's a direct mechanical interface with your autonomic nervous system. Hard science. Used by Navy SEALs, first responders, and trauma therapists for one reason: it works. How you breathe tells your nervous system how to behave. Fast, shallow breaths from the chest are a universal danger signal. They tell your brain you're being chased. Cortisol spikes. Adrenaline floods in. Slow, deep breathing from the diaphragm sends the opposite message: you're safe. You're in control. That signal travels straight through the vagus nerve, activating the parasympathetic system, the one responsible for calm, digestion, and recovery. You have a control panel for your mood. Most people never touch it. So let's get precise. Box breathing is one of the simplest ways to lower stress and regain control. It follows a clean 4x4 pattern. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold again for 4. This rhythm synchronizes your heart rate and breathing, creating coherence. Your brain interprets that coherence as safety. For rapid stress relief, there's something even faster: the physiological sigh. Your body does this naturally when it needs to relax. You can do it on demand. Inhale through the nose. Then take a quick second sip of air on top of it. Follow with a long, slow exhale through the mouth. That second inhale pops open collapsed air sacs in the lungs, allowing carbon dioxide to dump efficiently. The brainstem gets the message immediately. 2 or 3 rounds can shut down rising panic on the spot. If you need the opposite, alertness and drive, there's cyclical hyperventilation. Popularized through the Wim Hof method, it involves 20 to 30 deep, rapid breaths. Then a long exhale and a breath hold. This temporarily drops CO2 levels, raises blood pH, and triggers a controlled adrenaline surge. Focus sharpens. Energy spikes. Breath work isn't passive. It's deliberate. By changing how you breathe, you decide whether your body is calm, alert, or ready to recover. And once you realize you can flip those states at will, you start to see how much control you've been giving away without noticing. Binaural beats. At first, it sounds like nothing. A faint hum. Another lo-fi track pretending to boost focus. But binaural beats aren't background noise. They're an auditory illusion, and a subtle way to steer your brain using sound alone. This process is called neuroentrainment, and it works by exploiting how your brain handles competing signals. Here's how it actually functions. You need headphones. This only works in stereo. Each ear receives a slightly different tone. One ear might hear 400 Hz, the other 410. Your brain can't process them separately, so it does something strange. It creates a third, phantom beat. The difference between the two, 10 Hz. That perceived pulse doesn't exist in the sound. It exists in your brain. And here's the key. 10 Hz corresponds to a real brainwave frequency. As you listen, your brain's electrical activity can begin syncing to that rhythm. You're not forcing a state. You're nudging it. Different frequencies produce different effects. Delta waves, half a hertz to 4. These dominate deep, dreamless sleep. Binaural beats in this range can help you fall asleep faster and sink deeper once you're there. Theta waves, 4 to 8 hertz. This is the borderland between sleep and wakefulness. Creativity lives here. So does intuition, visualization, and deep internal focus. Alpha waves, 8 to 13 hertz. Calm, alert, relaxed attention. Often described as flow. Perfect for studying, learning, or sustained mental work without stress. Then there's beta, 13 to 30 hertz. The thinking mind. Problem solving. High alertness. Low beta can sharpen focus. High beta can push you straight into anxiety. This isn't a magic switch. It takes headphones, consistency, and experimentation to find what works for you. But as a non-invasive, chemical-free tool, it's one of the simplest ways to interface directly with your brain's internal rhythms. And once you realize your mental state can be influenced this easily, you start to question how much of your focus was ever truly out of reach. Intermittent fasting. It turns out the most important meal of the day might be the one you skip. Intermittent fasting has been swallowed by diet culture, but its real power has nothing to do with the scale. It's about what happens to your brain when digestion gets out of the way. By compressing your eating into a smaller window, commonly 8 hours, followed by a longer fast, you shift your biology into a very different mode. And the mental effects can be striking. The idea that your brain needs constant glucose from the moment you wake up is misleading. When you're fasted, your body isn't burning energy on digestion. Insulin levels fall, and your brain flips on adaptive programs that rarely activate in a fed state. One of the most important is the release of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain. It helps existing neurons survive, encourages new connections, and plays a critical role in learning, memory, and mental flexibility. Fasting has been shown to raise BDNF levels, essentially pushing the brain into growth and repair mode. Then, around 12 to 14 hours without food, another shift begins. Your body starts producing ketones. Ketones aren't a backup fuel. They're a premium one. Your brain runs cleaner on ketones than on glucose, producing fewer inflammatory byproducts. That's why many people describe a sudden, almost razor-sharp clarity late in a morning fast. That feeling isn't just caffeine. It's metabolic. At the same time, fasting activates autophagy, a cellular cleanup process where damaged components get identified and recycled. Think of it as maintenance mode for your cells. Less inflammation, more efficiency, and none of this requires extremes. A simple 16-8 rhythm, finishing dinner around 8 and eating again at noon, is enough to unlock many of these effects. It's not for everyone. People with certain medical conditions should be cautious. But for many, this single adjustment clears mental clutter and lets the brain run on a cleaner, more efficient operating system. And once you feel what your mind is capable of without constant input, you start to question how often you were feeding distraction instead of focus. The gut-brain axis. There's a second brain inside you. It doesn't ponder philosophy. It doesn't solve equations. But it does decide how your main brain feels. Anxious, focused, or flat-out miserable. Welcome to the gut-brain axis. A biochemical superhighway where trillions of microorganisms in your intestines hold the reins to your mood and cognition. The old metaphor that your stomach affects your emotions? It's literal. Your gut has its own nervous system, the enteric nervous system, with over 100 million neurons. More than your spinal cord. More than enough to call it a brain in its own right. And it talks to your skull-brain constantly through the vagus nerve. The conversation is dominated by the tenets of your microbiome, your gut bacteria, viruses, and fungi. These microbes aren't passive. They actively produce neurotransmitters, regulate inflammation, and communicate with your immune system. Here's the kicker. Over 90% of the serotonin in your body, the key chemical for mood, calm, and satisfaction, is made in your gut, not your brain. Your microbes are literally manufacturing the chemicals that dictate your happiness. But there's a dark side. Feed your gut processed food, sugar, and industrial oils, and you empower inflammatory bacteria. They send stress signals up the vagus nerve. The result: brain fog, anxiety, depression. Feed it fiber, fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, and kefir, and polyphenol from colorful plants, coffee, or dark chocolate, and you empower the beneficial microbes. They produce anti-inflammatory compounds and neurotransmitter precursors like serotonin and dopamine. Ever feel wiped out after a weekend of junk food? You're not exaggerating. That's a neurochemical imbalance orchestrated by your gut. Your mood isn't just in your head. It's in your gut. And if you ignore the needs of your microbial overlords, they will happily eat your motivation for breakfast. Red light therapy. It sounds like science fiction. Shining red light on your body to heal faster, reduce inflammation, and boost energy. But this isn't fantasy. It's grounded in cellular biology. Red light therapy, also called photobiomodulation, works at the level of the individual cell. Specifically, your mitochondria. These tiny organelles are your body's power plants. They produce ADP, adenosine triphosphate, the universal energy currency. Every muscle contraction, every neural signal, every heartbeat depends on it. As we age or face stress and illness, mitochondrial efficiency drops. That's where red and near-infrared light step in. Wavelengths in the mid-600 nanometer range, red, and mid-800, near-infrared, penetrate your skin and are absorbed by cytochrome C oxidase inside the mitochondria. This excites the molecule, displacing nitric oxide, a molecule that normally inhibits ADP production. With nitric oxide out of the way, mitochondria use oxygen more efficiently. ADP production spikes. More ADP means more cellular energy for repair, collagen production, inflammation reduction, and overall function. Here's where most online hype goes wrong. It's not magic. Dose, wavelength, and consistency matter. A cheap red light panel from social media won't cut it. Short, focused sessions, 10 to 15 minutes, are more effective than hour-long marathons. When done properly, studies suggest benefits like faster muscle recovery, improved skin tone, reduced joint pain, and even hormonal improvements. At its core, this is about using light as a signal to upgrade your cellular energy grid. And once you realize you can directly influence your cell's power output with something as simple as light, you start to see that even the smallest signals can unlock massive upgrades in your body. If you want to uncover more hidden hacks to unlock your body's full potential, make sure to subscribe to Strange Wise. Hit the bell so you never miss a secret that could supercharge your health and performance. Stay curious, and let's explore the extraordinary together.